Taping?
Yeah, you're there.
El Lot, number 3, to Lot, with a Rivi'i, so this has breadth to it. And we continue, number 3 on the next page. He brought to Lot a proposal to settle all differences of opinion before it was too late, as stressed by the broad meaning of the reading mark. So he's giving latitude, if you will, to Lot, and that's again what we've said with the Rivi'i, the idea that it spreads out to the sides. So he's giving options to settle the dispute.
In all four directions, sort of.
Mm-hmm.
Even though later says it's right in Asmeela, I mean it's more.
Alna, not pleased with the Pashta. It may have catastrophic results. Not pleased shall be continued your ways of acting by imposing independent views and desires as denoted by the directional shape of the reading mark. So he's asking Lot to please cease and desist from what he has been doing up until now, raiding other people's fields. He shall be.
Sorry, just before we leave for, how does the directional shape of the reading mark indicate that meaning in number 4, Alna?
So he's saying, going forward from this moment on, you can't do what you did before.
Oh, so it's just the forward arc of it. Okay.
Number 5, Tehi with the Mapach. This is going to take the concept of this word and focus it to a more narrow future. Shall be. There shall be a prevalence of reason above emotions, and efforts to begin full cooperation shall take place instead of finding differences and incompatibility, as suggested by the shape of the reading mark. Again, up until now we've been acting in two different ways, and we should both act in the same way going forward. And we have a side note, al-na, followed by tehi, not please shall be, defining the negative along with suggesting the positive, is comparable in meaning to sur me'ra v'yaseh tov, depart from bad and do good. So not please, and then this is the way that it's going to be. So we have a negative suggestion, don't do that, do this, and that means go away from evil, come towards good. Go away from evil and do good.
So Avram was the first person to say sur me'ra v'yaseh tov when he was the inspiration for that. I'm making a joke.
Number 6, Miriva with a Pashta, and again, focusing us forward from this word on, a controversy is likely to potentiate in extent and severity. It can only cause losses for all participants by disputes, as expressed by the directional shape of the reading mark. So again, the way that this is going to move forward is going to have bad consequences for everybody. Beini with a munach, so this is strongly separated from what's come from before and moving us into what's new. Between me, number 7, whatever effect each party will have, it is between me and the closest members of my family, as specified by the shape of the reading mark. So what I'm going to propose is what's going to need to be what moves forward from here. Uveinecha, and between you, with the 2-part katon, there could not be an actual impasse between anybody and between you and me, regardless of the nature of our problems, as pointed out by the bipartite shape of the reading mark. So here I think that what he's saying is that if we don't stand together, the outside forces are going to do something to us. So we need to have a single opinion, and that is what's going to triumph over the outside opinion. Uvein with a melcha, and between, lightly connected to what's come from before, but mostly moving us forward. The same approach is actually applicable everywhere, and between our interests, as illustrated by the directional shape of the reading mark. So between, moving forward into, ro'ai, my shepherds, with the tipcha, closing off the phrase and pausing slightly afterwards. My shepherds are instructed how to behave, to avoid penetration of neighboring grounds, and not to give reason for any provocations, as conveyed by the closing shape of the reading mark. So what's going to go forward is going to be this concept of the way that my shepherds act, and that's the way that it's got to be, uvein, with a munach, with a sharp demarcation, and moving forward into, justice should be observed by me, and between your servants not to have an attitude of convenience. Latin, siv per fas, siva per nefas, whether proper or improper. So the way that Lot's shepherds has to be something that stops, and they need to act a different way going forward, as demonstrated by the shape of the reading mark. So there has to be a new attitude amongst them. Ro'echa, your shepherds, with a stabilizing etnachta. This style of conduct has been practiced mainly by your shepherds, who did not observe rights of ownership or sovereignty, as depicted by the stabilizing shape of the reading mark. So the way that your shepherds have given the situation as it is, its current shape, its current flavor. So what your shepherds have done, have defined the current reality, and that's defined the unstable situation that we're in, and yet that's the reality that they've created. So they get the stabilizing etnachta.
So you know how the Tom sometimes has a pictographic character to it. So there's roecha here, referring to the roim of Lot, and you have the etnachta, and in the previous pasuk as well, bein roe Abraham bein roe Lot. Mikneh Lot. Sorry. Yes, there was also the etnachta, but it's hard to say that it's stabilizing because you're directly discussing tension, which is instability in itself. I wonder if this is pictographically like men digging their heels in the sand. A man with his two legs stuck in the sand.
The cowboys, right?
Yeah.
But it's not under. Oh, you mean this one is the stabilizing right? But you said it.
So that it's not necessarily here in this meaning, not a stabilizing note, but rather a pictographic note.
But you said, didn't you? I thought I heard right. I thought you said ro'eh. In both pasukim it has that stabilizing.
So we're saying ro'echa in this pasuk in 13:8, and ro'eh mikneh lot.
Oh, the whole pasuk.
Number mikneh lot. Also, the way that his cattle were being taught to act is sort of a digging in their heels,
which I know.
Digging in their hooves.
I was thinking of like the ro'im themselves that are standing there nose to nose.
By the way, you just know, this is, you can keep it on. In Mishle, you know the way the Eskimos have the 100 words for snow, because so by us, like in Mishle you see it, especially because they always talk about wisdom and fools and all different kinds. There's different names for fools. So one's a petty, some patua, because they're so open-minded the brains fall out, like they go with any new trend or something. And then there's ksil. So in Hebrew, nothing's stuck. Ksil, how do you know that word? It reminds me what you were talking about, the part of the kidneys, the klayot. Ksilim is part of what the kohanim, the ksilim are the hips, right?
Okay.
Aksalim.
Okay.
When they say, well, I don't know the exact specific, but they say, you put on the ksalim. So it can't be stam that the word for ksil was one of the words for fool in Mishle. It repeats all that. And it's also hips. So what's the connection? Why do you call that kind of fool a hippie, sort of? So Hirsch brings that, he says, because the hips, it's like what you said about the Ra'im. One form of a fool is that guy who, even if you'll prove him wrong and bring other arguments, he's duff guy. This is what I said, I'm sticking to it, I won't mention Alexander Hamburger, but sort of that way. You can talk about pictorially, it's, that's like feeling.
Number 13, ki anashim, with a mercha, lightly connected to what's come from before, but mostly moving us forward into what's going to go afterwards. However, no discrepancy should be permitted to divide us by antagonism, because men of mature judgment must apply rational, advanced vision rather than be guided by impulses, as signified by the directional shape of the reading mark. So one of the things that we often see in Torah is the word ish or anashim. Doesn't just mean men, it means men of importance or men who are going to shape the future. And I think that probably applies here. People who are going to shape the new future have to have a vision of how it's going to work in their present time, and that's going to move forward into achim, brothers, looking backwards and closing the phrase. We must overcome all misunderstandings. Differences of opinion are common in a family, even among brothers, but a way of compromise must be found, as portrayed by the closing shape of the directional reading line. In the end, we have to act together.
Yeah, I'm echoing, so it also sounds like by Yosef, B'nai Anashim Nachnu, remember that? It has a similar ring. Nachnu, that's where they dropped the aleph.
And whenever you look at any event in Torah, you have to look back to the Gan Eden story and so on. And the question is, in each generation, there are attempts to repair things that have happened before. And the question is this an attempt to repair the Cain Hevel rift? Where we have again two brothers who argue to the point of leading to eventually their both of their destruction. So Avram says, "Stop it."
Who are you talking about?
Cain and Hevel. So Avram is saying we've reached a point where that is our potential fate, and we need to do something about it before something more drastic happens. Anachnu, we are, with a stabilizing sof pasuk. Since we are both responsible men, we have to be capable and efficient to live independently, preserving respect and love for one another. So we are going to have to live our lives separately in order to give ourselves the stability that will move forward.
So you see that already in this pasuk, because that's what's going to happen next pasuk.
Yeah.
But how do you already see? It's a foreshadowing already now.
Because how are we going to both follow the same rules with the limitation of the land and still not bring upon the wrath of the neighbors? So if Lot moves somewhere else but continues to act the way that he's acting, that's not going to solve the problem, because the locals are going to get all riled up at these people who came from elsewhere and don't respect their rules. So he's telling Lot, listen, we're going to propose a solution, but the solution has to involve you following sort of my rules of respecting the locals. And then, by the way, you're going to have to move somewhere else where there's more resources. But first of all, you're going to have to follow my principles. And then we get to the next sentence where he says, and you're going to have to move somewhere where there are more resources.
So
that's not a compromise or a resolution. He's basically saying your way is wrong. You've got to follow mine.
No, he's saying the only way we have to
separate. We have to temporarily we'll settle it this way,
now,
but
exactly.
So
yeah.
For now, you live my way.
There's a moral question and an economic question, and he's giving Lot the ability to decide the economic question in the next sentence, but he's claiming the moral ground here. These are the rules that we have to follow. I don't care where in the land I stay or you go or whatever. I don't care about that. So I think the money is going to look after itself. But we have to stay people of principle. So Avram is ceding the economic decision to Lot and maintaining the moral decision for himself.
So each one, because they each got what was most important to them.
Right. So he's saying we have to stick with our strengths, and this is your strength, and I'm going to stick with my strength.
What we know about Stom, that's Stom. It's so ironic. If he's already going to be moral, he might as well, because Stom won't. Their whole midah was that what's mine is mine and yours is yours. So it's ironic that he should have just improved himself morally and stayed with Abraham. He'd be much better off. Because now he's going to a Stom where they don't have the morals, but they have the. You know what I mean?
No.
No. Okay, I thought just by saying midah
Okay,
Stom,
no.
he knows what I'm talking.
So again.
You know what midah Stom is? Not the homosexual part, but. They would cut you, weren't allowed visitors, and you cut off the person's feet, So I'm saying, okay, you elaborate on it.
So again, he's allowing Lot to choose, given that he's had this morality imposed on top of him. So he has to make an economic decision within the framework of morality. And Avram hopes that this will be enough to sway Lot to say, well, you want to know something? If that's the way that I've got to live, then I better not choose there, because that's something that's meaning Stom. But he gives Lot the opportunity. And again, this is sort of, one of those things of, why does God put us into situations where we might do something wrong? He puts us into situations because we have within us the ability to overcome them. So Lot here is put into his, major moment of test, and unfortunately he fails. But Avram gives him the ability to have made a choice of going elsewhere. And it's just that Lot fails at his choice. But he is given the choice. And we have a side remark, Ki anashim achim anachnu, because men, brothers we are. Avram gave to Lot an understanding, ki. So, ki means that we're giving an explanation, we're giving a reason. So he's giving him explanation and reason of tolerance, harmony, and unity within diversity, as symbolized by the broadened expression, anashim achim anachnu. We're men, we're brothers, and that's who we are. So Avram gives him the understanding that living with others, respecting others, is part of what you need in order to maintain and sustain growth. We're at the remark at the bottom of page 33.
Bottom right, 33.
33. As we read through the sentence, we're going to notice that at the beginning of the sentence, Avram and Lot are separated from each other by the notes. Vayomer Avram, pause, El Lot, pause. Here's the proposed solution. We shouldn't have an argument. My shepherds are going to be on one side. Your shepherds are going to be on the other side. Rather, ki anashim achim. We are people of importance who are going to determine the future, and our philosophy has to be the same. We have to be achim, and in that way, we're going to continue to be ourselves, but we're not going to be physically together anymore. So Anachnu is going to sit apart from Anashim Achim. Vayomer Avram Elot Al na tehi meriva beini uveinecha vein roai uvein roecha ki Anashim Achim Anachnu.
Just let me have. Do you think that they sang this to each other? That when they talked, did Avram talk like this?
Did everybody in Shakespeare speak in iambic pentameter? Is that the question you're asking me? So the question is the timbre of the words is the fact either
timbre, but spelled T-I-M-B.
It's like is that the way that they spoke to each other?
The Trop. That's the Trop language? And the Trop.
this is
I'm
this is
joking, but-
this is part of phrasing, so it does define the pauses, and the pauses, in fact, define the simple meaning of the words.
Whether they're using these notes or not,
So
the
they're
message
using
is
the
same.
punctuation of it. Are they using the actual trop? Like I'm trying to think of things that are like direct quotes.
These are quite,
So
But do you think if this was even meant to
So-
be like sort of a videotape of their actual conversations? Like this was written later
So
as
this
a
is-
literary exercise.
This is overloaded text. There's got to be a pshat in there, which is the simple definition of what was actually said. And then, by the way, all of the deeper meanings and connections of what those words and the way of saying those words have to do with things that happened in the past and things that will happen in the future. And by the way, with unrelated topics that might have any of those similar words in it. So this is overloaded text because it's got all of those things in the same context, but the pshat has to exist within it as well. So yes, the phraseology and the way that they're speaking and the and the breathing pattern, if you will, is maintained. But is it sung? No. People don't walk around singing to each other.
Mhm.
You never met one of the bosses.
Except if they're looking for an Academy Award in the 1930s.
Speaking of La La Land.
yeah. Or all these operas. Red.
All right, I think we're done for the night. I think
On that
we've
note,
on that note, yes.
Very good. Good.
Thank you.